Welcome back to the 167. I am Carissa Motley, and I am here today with Connor, is going to tell us some of his story about some of the stuff God has been doing in his life lately. So, Connor, welcome to the podcast.
Nice to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming in. So just real quickly before we get into some of the cool stuff you're going to share, can you kind of tell us, like, how long have you been here at New Life and what got you coming here?
I've been coming here most of my childhood, and since I've moved back to Kansas.
Okay.
I went to some few other like off churches when I was a kid, but then we started coming here regularly, and I came here up until I joined the Army and left.
Okay.
And then when I came back, I just started coming back here because there's just not any church like here.
Cool. That's great. Yeah. And so are you from Gardner? You live in Gardner?
I grew up in Gardner.
Okay.
And right now I live in South Casey.
Okay. So you're a local. You've kind of been here for a while. Awesome. Yep. Cool. So you were saying God's been doing some cool things in your life. So I'm just going to give you a chance to kind of tell us that story. What do you want to share today?
Well, maybe my whole biography, but try and keep things a little more brief.
We only have 30 minutes before the camera shuts off.
I've always been a church-going person.
Okay.
I've always known about God and called myself a Christian, but I don't think it's really until recently that I understood a lot of things about what Christianity really is and what faith really is. And really that's kind of how I've gotten deceived and got down a pretty dark road, I think, because I just didn't really understand a lot of things and thought I was doing the right things when I wasn't. But really, in my teen years, was a real animal, I guess you could say. And I developed a lot of self-hatred, and that's kind of how Satan works with me, and still to this day. But where I would go off track because I would just stop caring about things and really just life in general, and Satan would really show me how pointless everything seems until I was just like, well, I don't want to really do anything anymore. I'm good. Yeah. And I really decided when I was like 16 that I just wanted to die as soon as possible someday. And I thought about a lot of ways things could go down. And I figured that the best kind of outcome for that would be to like die in the military, I guess, like a death worth living. Sure. Or dying.
Yeah. And an honorable death, right?
Yeah, and not like a suicide or anything like that. And so I also, like when I was 10, I decided I was going to go that route just to like make myself proud. And my mom and dad both serve, so I wanted to go do that. And then that's just added layering on top of it. Yeah. I just kind of gave up on being successful in any other way because Satan would just breed in all my mistakes and all of the reasons why I could never be successful any other way. And I just figured that I could go do that. And I had a lot of hatred and disappointment built up. I really despised the Taliban and what they did to people. And I wanted to go to those situations and like help people and stop that from happening. And then if something happened to me during that, then I'm all for it. But I went in the military, and I mean, I did okay. I just slowly deteriorated because I just had a lot of really bad inward issues inside of me, and then all the other issues that come with that lifestyle on top of it just compounded and made it worse. Right. But I still was going to church and having a spiritual kind of side where it really helped me through a lot of the rough and hard times that I went through. And I don't really know how people who don't know God really go through that stuff.
Right. I don't either. Yeah.
Really, I just started getting assaulted at all sides and stopped going for a period, and that's just where things really got to the worst parts that's ever been, I guess, for me. And I went to Iraq in 2020, and that wasn't really much. We just kind of were put there to scare people so that they stop doing bad things to other people.
Yeah.
But then I went to Kabul, Afghanistan for the pullout, and that's where it just really shattered the identity of who I was. Because I always saw myself as the soldier, as the guy that was just fearless and going to do anything to help other people. Yeah. And I really thought that a lot of the people in charge nowadays, they talk about all these morals and virtues and like standards and like things that they are supposed to uphold. But I was just shown that it's just not. Real life is a lot more gray, and there's not really any black and white.
Yeah.
And I just really felt like during that time I failed at being what I was born to be and like what I spent my entire life trying to be. And I was just really didn't understand that there's such a thing as a lose-lose situation. Yeah. And there's things such like fates that are worse than just dying. And I really struggled for a long time. I still struggle, but it's significantly better. But just seeing there's people that would rather kill themselves than live in a country run by the Taliban. Sure. And I've never ever seen anybody so desperate. They had to pick like body parts out of the landing gears of planes that were coming from there, because they would hold on to the sides of the airplanes and all the way like hundreds of miles until they either like got caught up in them because they would retract back into the airplane, or some of them just fell off. Sure. But yeah, I mean, there's just a whole lot of science too, I think, behind like suicides being linked, and you know, like one person does and then more and more and more. And that's what I really saw in the military. There was a lot of just suicide chains that would go on like that. Yeah. But really, it just kind of got to me because I felt like there was just no right decision. Sure. Because I had every opportunity to try and do something, but I was ordered not to. Okay. And then they say that you can break those orders if it's unlawful, but I mean, that's not the reality. The reality is you have to do what they think is right. Okay. Yeah. Or else you get punished by them. But I really just, the only thing that's helped me is like God came to me afterwards when I was just really struggling and told me that I wasn't even there for those people, that I was there for my brothers. I mean, thinking back on it, I mean, they had a lot of my friends from there, they had a lot of mental issues too. Yeah. And there was a lot of situations during that time where, I mean, I don't think they would have lived. I kind of had to play like bad cop. I guess you could say like good cop and bad cop. Sure. Like first of all, there's just children, like 19, 20-year-olds. I was only 20, 22. Okay. But so, I mean, I was still a kid, but I mean, I had a little bit more about me than the the youngins that were barely living that life. Right. And I had to keep them doing what was right and keep them away from getting corralled into the crowds. Because it was like the entire country came to that one city, and there was only so many of us against an entire country of people just desperate enough that they'll hold on and do anything. Sure. But then there was my lieutenant. We got like a chain of people to hold hands, because we would always get them like corralled like where they needed to be, so that we can get them orderly in a fashion like on the planes and get them out. But they kept getting scared, and they would like break away from the line and then just flood the airport, and then no planes could take off or nothing would happen. But we got a bunch of them to sit down. But I mean, he was like, such a good-hearted person, but it's like he could never see the bad side of it. So like when they would all come and like surround him, then I would realize like, this is not okay. Like you need to get away from him, like give him some space. And there was a lot of undesirables in those people. There was a lot of innocent people, but there was a lot of people there that just wanted to hurt us. Like they were picking up weapons that the Afghan army left because they just abandoned their post and just walked away. And they would just pick up guns and shoot at us and whatever they could find, and knives. And so I just, that's how Satan would use those things against me, because he would just remind me of all the times that I had to act in order to keep the people I cared about safe.
Right. So it sounds like you felt like
that I'm the villain for that.
Yeah, like you felt like you were being a protector, and God kind of told you were in that role, right, for the people with you.
I mean, in the moment, there's no time to think.
Sure.
You're just doing whatever you think you can and whatever you think is right with the couple seconds you have to make decisions.
To make that split decision,
When these people were surrounding him, I had seconds before something bad happens. Like, hey, do I stop this or do I just let this happen?
Right.
And I had to, you have to kind of pick and choose in those situations, like subconsciously. You're not like, oh, this person could just go die, but you're like, this is not, you're not going to allow this to happen, because you just can't live with the outcome, really. I mean, I went there like only half healed from my surgery, because I knew, I was like, if something happens to them and I really shouldn't have went, because after ACL surgery, you're supposed to recover for like 12 months. I was like 5 months in, and then we're like, oh, we're going. Wow. I'm like, no, I'm not going to let some of the best people I've met in my life go risk their lives without me there next to them, because, you know, I couldn't live with myself knowing something happened and I couldn't do anything.
Yeah, sure.
But I essentially had to play bad cop, and Satan would just take all those moments and just remind me that I'm a failure, remind me of this, remind me of that. I've always been an analytical person.
Okay.
I've always tried to see things for how they are, like a truth seeker, you know, like I don't take things at face value. I have to know why. I have to really dive deep into it. I mean, I'd chalk it up to trust issues now, because I've just seen how a lot of things really aren't what they seem. But it really kind of plays against me, because it's like, well, we saved over 100,000 people, but then there's just all the times where I had to beat people back or like force them to listen, because I mean, there's a language barrier and there's only so much they understood. Right. And I mean, some people really, that's what I learned there. Like, they only respond to violence or the threat of violence. Like, a lot of people only follow the law because they know what happens when they don't follow the law.
Sure, yeah.
And I mean, it's sad, but that's just a reality. And then it just really kind of eats you up inside when the people that have to live that kind of lifestyle, like law enforcement or military or the EMS, paramedics, doctors, you have to really make a lot of decisions with no time to think about it at all. A lot of very deep, impactful decisions. And then it's never really the people that you save that really you remember. It's all the ones that you don't. And then I chalk that up to Satan trying to throw up all your failures in your face and make you seem like a failure, but that's not the reality at all. Yeah. It isn't. And I mean, I just couldn't analytically get over the fact about all the things that had to go on in order to keep the people that I cared about safe. But I mean, I can rest easy now knowing that I kind of did my part. I mean, really, there's a lot of people, I think, that just don't realize they're just one person. Okay. And I've had to do a lot of deep searching and devotionals. Like, I had a lot of issues from that. I came back home and I couldn't eat at all. Like, not volunteer. Like, I didn't voluntarily starve myself. I would literally get like a mini sub from like Jimmy John's and take one bite, and then it felt like I was about to vomit. Wow. I just couldn't eat. And I couldn't really sleep but like 1 or 2 hours at night. I just have like panic attacks and just a lot of a lot of things going on. But really, it's just so strange. But I had a lot of intense battles from that, and still to this day. But the only thing that's really actually impacted me at all, like I've tried to get help, like psych help through the VA and like other professionals, and I've taken probably half of the medications that exist. Sure. But I mean, there's not a pill that's going to solve any inward issue within yourself. And right. I mean, that's kind of how I see them for some people. I mean, I know a lot of people that have taken those medications. My family takes those medications, and I mean, they still have the same issues. It's just masked by a pill, you know, like right. It's just some of the symptoms aren't as bad, right. But it's still there. Solved anything for them. Like my mom, she still struggles a lot. And really, for me, I had to really renew my faith and renew my mind and kind of my hope, I guess, because I just lost hope since I was a kid, really. Sure. And it's a powerful thing. Yeah. And you can do anything with it. And I mean, I understood a lot about scripture, which is what I think makes me as fearless as I am comparatively to other people, I guess. I mean, like, I was not really scared about bullets flying or like anything like that. I was more worried about not being there to help people and not being able to successfully do that. Yeah. That's kind of the only things that I really fear, because I mean, I've been shot before and I've been through a lot of things. I mean, it's always worked out for the best. Yeah. And really, I was in a place where I really had no hope for the future and was just constantly bombarded with my failures, and I really just wanted to die. And when I tried to seek treatment through the VA, through the Army first, they didn't really do anything for me. They just were like, your contract's about to be up. Just get help when you get out. And they gave me some pills and whatnot, but I mean, it was just very, very intense drugs that really just made things worse. I did a lot of psychology reading. Okay. The medications, they only, according to Feeling Good, it was published in like 1990s, like in the late 90s, I think, but they only help 20 to 30% of people. So if you do the math, 70 to 80 get worse. Right, yeah. And there's a lot of very, very scary side effects from those, which is what I had to learn the hard way. Okay. But I tried to get help through them. They just gave me some pills. That didn't work. I got out and like a month early, because you can save up your time and then get out early. But then I'm still technically was a part of their healthcare system. So then the VA wouldn't help me for a month until I got all the way out. And then basically I went to them when I was not in the healthcare system anymore. And they told me that I had to wait another like 6 months until like August. So it was like from when the event happened to when I could get help was 12 months. That's a long time. That's a long time to just sit there with that stuff. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, they would give me these drugs, but I don't really think they even know that much about what they do. I mean, that can get kind of conspiratorial. Sure. So I don't want to really go there. Yeah, but no, that's good. There's a lot of them. They just say the same side effects, and it just, from my experience, it just really seemed like they didn't know a lot what they were doing. They were just throwing them at me, and they would give me one and then max out the dose. Then, all right, I guess that doesn't work. Let's try this one. And then they just tried so many, and it just really was a different flavor of messed up. And so I was like, well, that doesn't work at all. All right. And really, they kind of, I think it's just because of from being in the military and having PTSD, I think they were afraid of me, because they gave me like an option. I had to either check myself into the hospital, or I had to just waited out for that period, and I waited it out as long as I could, getting prescriptions from like a family doctor. But I mean, he's not a psychologist or psychiatrist. Sure. He doesn't know. And I eventually checked myself into the hospital because that's the only way I could get them to help me. And I was good for a couple days, and I got checked out and then just went right back to bed. And I went back to the follow-up appointment and just kind of telling them I was feeling really apathetic and hopeless, because I mean, it was just seeing all those traumatic events and like failures just thrown in my face, and then already going through 7 years of like, I just want to die. And I just didn't really know where to go from there, what to do. And then they kind of forced their will on me and involuntarily committed me, which is why I tried to kill myself in July of 22. Okay. But it was so crazy because God loves you so much, and he loved me so much that he wouldn't even let me do that to myself. Like when the bullet went into my skull, like I saw him, he sent an angel, and then there was a physical hand that like went through my head and stopped it from going through the roof of my mouth, because I know like 9mm is one of the only calibers you can like survive headshots. I mean, that's why I use the 9mm hollow point, but there's people that don't. It's a very low chance, and especially with the placement of the shot, like your bone is not thick on the roof of your mouth as it is. Like the people that survive get shot in the forehead. Yeah. That's where your bone is really thick and where you can survive. So there's no doubt in my mind I should be dead. Like I should have died, but he sent an angel, and there was a physical hand that stopped it, because I kind of had to come out from myself, and I saw it kind of in like a third person, a physical hand stopped it, and then I like come back into myself, and I'm like, oh, well, now I'm shot in the face. Okay. But through that, I had to stay in the hospital and had to go through the government's version of treatment and all that, but really it did nothing for me. And what I've had to really do to get through a lot of the issues is when I started doing daily devotionals and really truly understanding what his word means and like what you're supposed to do, is how I've been able to cope and like figure out a lot of things. And the fact that he loves you so much, he won't even let you destroy yourself in a sense, is because I mean, I've always been able to talk to him. He's always talked with the Holy Spirit through me, and I mean, he loves me just as much as anybody else. Yeah. You know, he doesn't have favorites. Right. I think there's things that he loves especially about people, but he doesn't love anyone specifically, especially more than anybody else. And I mean, if he'd stop literal bullets for me, I mean, he'd do a lot more for everybody else, you know? Yeah. But really, I mean, it's been the greatest help for my mental health is learning, fixing the inward battles and issues I've had for so many years, and really understanding a lot of things that I just gave up on caring about, and reinstilling that sense of hope. That's what I think is so important about Christianity as a whole, is the sense of hope that it brings. Yeah. Because there's a lot of people that could do amazing things if they just had some hope. That's that's a great point. It's a great point. Man, that's an amazing story, Connor. I mean, just the way that God saved you from all of that. That's super awesome. I made him work really hard for me. But he's happy to do it, right? You just said that. You know that he loves you enough to do that for you. So that's amazing. He loves all of us the same amount. Just he'd do that for me. He'd do that for you. Absolutely. Yeah, that's so great. Yeah, you got anything else you want to say before we wrap up today? The only thing I could think is the loneliness I've had to learn is an illusion. You're never alone.
Yeah.
You're never alone. You only tell yourself you are. You only let Satan lie to you to tell you are. You're never alone.
Yeah.
Even when it feels so much like it, there's always someone there that would rather talk to you. They would rather listen to you or be there for you. Someone loves you out there, no matter how much you say to yourself that nobody does. Someone does.
Someone does.
And even if it's just God.
Yeah.
God loves you more than anybody else on planet Earth could.
Yeah.
But
for sure.
Loneliness is an illusion, and there's always hope in something worth doing. Really. It's just about understanding and finding it. Because I had to go through a lot of periods of not having that because I didn't realize or understand or just really search for it. And I had to kind of had it set in my lap.
Yeah.
But it's there.
It's there.
It is always there.
Yeah.
You just have to find it.
That's great. That's great. I love what God has shown you through this season and that he's been faithful and he's been there for you. So thank you so much.
Yeah. He always is.
He always is. But thanks for telling people that story. I think it's really powerful and it's people need to hear, right? Like you just said, loneliness is not the truth. And
well, I
God's
don't
love
think they
is.
think miracles happen anymore
And
either.
they do, right?
They happen every day.
Every day.
All the time.
All the time. Here, you're proof of that.
Yep.
That's awesome. Well, we are about out of time, so we are going to wrap up. So thank you so much for sharing your story. I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming on today. And thanks for watching the 167, and we will see you guys in the next episode.